and inflexibility. For instance, Eclipse is never really particular to Python, even though it has a very good Python plugin, and it can do Bazaar, even though it's got a very good Bazaar plugin, but it's very rarely used for that.
But what makes it rarely used for that?
Because
just
because of the
workflow. You
workflow.
don't have these large Python projects.
No, because the workflow of how you do Python programming
People have been arguing
is not
about
monolithic.
IDE versus separate tools for about 30 years.
It doesn't feel it.
Okay. I really don't think
like
we're
for
going
a
to
Java
nail it.
programmer,
Okay.
Eclipse feels very natural.
So point.
Just in our own world. Well, I've been doing it this way for the last 20 years, so that's the way everybody does it.
Not everybody, not everyone. There's a long history of Unix development. Not everyone's a Windows developer. Windows developers, like people who work at Microsoft, don't use Visual Studio to write Windows. So, so it's not everybody. But I kind of agree with JML. I don't think we're gonna resolve this argument. I think that we should be very open to the fact that there's this other point of view that IDEs are good, but we also need to embrace the fact that we're not going to be able to solve that problem. We don't have the resources or the mindset or etc. So I think that we should take the Unix approach.
Yeah, sorry, drawing attention.
Yeah, that's right, Fagan. So that was my point about Ruby on Rails, was that Rails took users away from Visual Studio, even though it wasn't, the tutorial wasn't an IDE. And it was because it was a simple thing to program. Like programming was easy.
Well, can we have, so I know Michael's a very experienced Rails user. Can we just have somebody who's used Rails a lot give testimony about like what makes Rails attractive to them?
Yeah, well, I can.
Just, okay, so tell.
So I wrote a pretty rich website in it, and what I liked about it, it's a model-based programming system. So like most websites, not all of them, but most of them are based on databases. And so it infers what you need from your database. So for instance, to create a UI, you don't like lay it out in a some complicated designer stuff. You tell it what database to use. And then in fact, if you have no UI definition, it's able to use the model, which is the database, how you describe the database, to create a UI for you. And then you can just open a code file and then say, well, I want to start overriding functions, or you can start saying, I want it to use this HTML template, and just start editing the HTML. For me personally, GUI HTML developer, they just never work. Like writing HTML in a WYSIWYG way never worked for me. I always ended up using the code view. Did you find that, Michael, or did you use?
Yeah, I mean, I think people get easily distracted by the sort of boilerplate sort of script generate stuff, and think that kind of. I've been trying to sort of recreate what I love about Rails in sort of on other platforms for a few years now, and then sort of the further you dig, the more kind of you realise that's just the tip of the iceberg, and just the APIs are so brilliant and keep moving forward so quickly. The structure that you get is very big and very well thought through and very apt for sort of building a website. So what I think we sort of have quickly sort of has, the generation of the project, but I don't think it has the APIs or the code structure or the templates yet to make it sort of feel like Ruby.
So Fagan, he was basically saying that Ruby on Rails is so rich and deep, and like we don't have anything on the desktop that's like that yet.
So what you're talking about is describing the language. You're not talking about the tools, right? Right. Your session is more about the tools you want to use, right?
That's right.
Right. Because I mean, yeah, Rails could be a great language. The interface are nice, but that's just the language. It's not the tools you use to make that site.
Yeah.
And as far as the IDE goes, TextMate is pretty cool. You can jump between sort of view and model files. That's sort of just the keyboard. It kind of has an understanding of the project structure.
Do you want to sit up here so people can hear you on the mic? No? What?
So yeah, so what you just said, right, like you said, it has an understanding of the project structure, you can jump between things, and...
So that people can hear you.
Yeah, there's an internet.
Sorry.
It's a fishbowl.
Yeah, there's an internet, and we believe it exists.
So what you said, it just has this project structure, right, and you can jump between things, and that's really, I mean, IDEs aim to be just that, right? They just aim to create this project structure, this easy way of moving between files, this easy way of getting to the content you need, right?
Okay.
So,
So we spent 12 minutes on this topic. I'd like to cut it off because we're not building an IDE. So,
right,
but
you
we
have to reproduce
reckon-
the same thing, right?
so
I would suggest that we could be a bit more opinionated about what plugins we ship with gedit.
yeah. So we have a
This
whole
week-
session on that tomorrow for Quickly, but we could talk, don't we? Isn't that?
Yeah,
Well, it's part of
it's
the
not tomorrow,
Quickly.
it's,
We have a
Thursday,
command
but
called
yeah.
quickly edit, and we just load gedit today. We don't load any other. We don't load it in an opinionated manner. Like we don't load it for Python development.
And for some teaser now, we'll activate some plugins when you will use Quickly Edit from JD plugins, so that you don't scoop your normal JD config.
Okay, so should we talk about like Quickly and Nautilus now, or
I pasted 2 links on the Gobi document.
Should we plug someone into the second projector?
I
You'd be
don't.
able to use like the Windicator idea really well. This is stuff. Windicators and gedit, tie them with ground control and all this. Launchpad, this sort of stuff.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Hold on, could someone write that down? Like we could add a Windicator to gedit, which shows somebody else just checked out this file,
Yeah.
like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
The plugin for live updating and stuff like that would be awesome.
okay. Desktop and
It's desktop Maverick desktop as IDE.
okay. So I got knocked offline. Now I'm back.
Oh, thanks, Vegan. So basically, quickly Nautilus 1 is when you are outside a project. So we just should define some kind of subdirectories so that we just show that. And you can create your project there, choose your template. Just do also have a look at the tutorials. And you have, so when you enter to a project, you have some buttons that are depending on the template you are using. And nothing is hard-coded, so all is defined by the template. And the template can say, I want to show this, and this button. Because we don't want to have every quickly command shown in Nautilus. And so it's just defined by the template. And depending on the context, it will, for instance, if you are outside your project, the tutorial will ask you for which template do you want to show the tutorial. And if you have, as for quickly completion, if you are in a project, it will be the tutorial from this template.
If you're in a project, are you in a project in this view?
For quickly Nautilus 2, yeah.
Oh, Quickly Nautilus 2.
Yeah.
Oops.
And you have some little things like the template name, and just to know where you are.
What about bug integration? Like, is there anything to integrate with Launchpad to pull out project bugs, things you're working on, to-do lists?
I think it's more on
Is that in
your
ground
side.
control?
Yeah.
Do you want to? Are there any screenshots that show? He was asking about bug integration.
Yeah. So
And we should.
the bug integration is fairly basic because it assumes that you want to fix problems, not report them. And the way it works is you can specifically do a search for a bug, and it will download the relevant trunk branch for that project, call it after the bug, tie it to the bug, and then when you do merge requests and all that other good stuff, the bug is kept up to date with what's going on.
That's if you're fixing a bug.
This
Yeah.
is all through Nautilus?
Yeah. Yeah, if I had the projector, I could show you.
Take it.
Dude.
I am the opportunistic developer.
Awesome.
Should be. Okay.
Okay. So you see where it says fix bug,
Okay.
and do a little search for something.
So this was just in your general project directory.
This is actually in a specific project
Oh,
directory.
okay.
This is ground control itself.
So before we get there, maybe we should talk about this notion. So like what ground control purports is that if you want to do programming on Ubuntu, one thing that you can do is set up this directory called projects. And then once you're in there, Nautilus knows that if you're in projects, you're in programming world. And so these things don't show up if you're outside of projects, right? Like if you go up to your Dr. Mo.
No.
Technically, it's actually a hidden file. So anything you put this in will have that bar.
Like in recursively?
No, just in that one directory. But it's recursive because each directory is actually detected by itself. So you'll notice that I have a Python directory. Inside there is both a project and branches, and they're not because I have stuff that's historic. It's was never to do with ground control. That's why it's like that. Right? So if you just use ground control and you never did any development before, it should be clean and structured.
Okay. But let's go back. So what do people think about just like the plan of record, like the design is, there'll be a projects directory, and that expresses that you're in developer context.
We call it projects.
Why?
Project managers have projects.
Yeah, I don't. See,
Development.
Their projects,
Programming.
their work. There's
because
only
that,
so many words.
I assume it's because that's what Visual Studio does. Like if you install Visual Studio, it creates a projects folder. But should we call it something else?
Apple use developer.
A lot of ugly things.
Apple's developer is the root for the SDK.
You're going to quickly itself.
Yeah.
Developer?
Developer or code. I use Workspace for that because I've used Eclipse. So.
I think
Okay.
the naming of the folder is not kind of nearly as important as the idea that
Yeah.
the general focus seems to be to use the familiar tools you have depending on what you're doing for the project. So if you're interacting with the project's files, you get to use Nautilus like you do when you normally interact with files, right?
Yep.
And we have extra buttons to help you with the project stuff, right?
Okay.
Like BZR and so on. And when you're editing your project files, you just use a normal text editor, like quickly edit, powering gedit, right?
So are you fine with having the name projects be maybe up for grabs a little bit, as long as there's a notion that there's
You mean the change of the word? Yeah.
from projects to whatever?
To whatever. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not tied to the language. If we think we can make it easier for people to use by changing the nomenclature, then I'm fine with
Okay.
I would say that it would be a good thing to standardize on, because it would make a lot of other things.
Yeah. Well, it would make our tools easier to write, and also, so who owns picking the name? It's going to stay projects unless somebody
I'll pick it.
tries it.
It
Who-
could be projects.
Who said that?
Rodney?
It's projects? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks, Rodney.
Okay, so to show people in this room what I've done is I'm in my project directory and I've just asked it for quickly, and you can see here here's quickly, and I can fetch a branch. So I can fetch a specific branch, but as we were talking about before with bugs, so we've got all these branches quickly. But I might actually want to fix a specific problem.
Okay. Could you take a pause there? Because I think we need to talk to JML for a sec.
Hi.
So I think he's screen scraping Launchpad to get all that data.
I'm not. It's Launchpad lib.
Oh, it's Launchpad lib now? Okay. Could you tell, is there any screen scraping in it anymore?
No.
For GPG and ECC?
There was only one tiny piece of screen scraping for
Key
the
exchange
log
or
on.
something. Okay, but that's all done? That's all gone?
That I had to fix because OpenID kind of just blew it.
Okay, cool.
It
Okay.
doesn't screen scrape anymore.
There's no
Uses
screen.
the Ubuntu SSO APIs, or
It uses WebKit.
So it's
How-
actually
how do you-
displaying the
just
web
a better
page.
web browser, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. Is that okay? I mean, do you think that's a
It's certainly a much better first approximation than screen scraping.
okay?
Yeah, there was no real way we could do it because going to Firefox or going to something else completely broke the workflow for logging. on.
Yeah, I can understand that. So Ubuntu, for the record, Ubuntu SSO, which we use for Ubuntu One and
I
for
know.
Launchpad these days, has APIs, so you can do the whole thing. You can steal the code from the Ubuntu One desktop client to do the authentication, and
And how do you
Maybe
look
we'll do
for SSH upload?
Okay.
if it's already a nice workflow with WebKit,
And it's
all
work.
cool.
So
I'm just
you
saying the technology exists.
okay? So we could if we chose to
Yeah.
change it, but you
How
see
do
no
you
reason to.
upload the SSH key and stuff like that?
Let's
If,
wait.
It's not
if I
in
were,
the
if I were hacking on this project full time, I probably would, but
Okay.
That's not
Why?
screen
Why would you do
scraping,
because I would rather have more control over the user experience.
Okay. It would be robust to changes on the web pages.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, that sort of stuff.
Okay. Keep going. Sorry to keep interrupting.
So,
you,
any quickly bugs?
No, sure.
The ID or name of stuff that's horribly wrong with quickly right now?
There's no bugs.
There is no bug. 1 second.
But that,
I'm waiting for Launchpad.
but that won't take care of the OAuth story. That's a different thing.
This one should. So
Yeah,
quickly
for like
let's-
uploading, I don't know how he does that.
Yeah, no, OAuth for just approving that this application is allowed to mess with your launchpad.
Lint?
Oh, I don't know how he does that.
Yeah, WebKit probably.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you,
And
you
it
can
stores the ID from it or something.
You can do a search for the bug ID or the name, and here we have the should be quickly bug. And how big is quickly?
Big. It's got a lot of dependencies. It's got like 25 megs of dependencies, but you probably have them all installed already. So you
Yeah,
probably-
the branch.
No, not the dependencies, the history, because this is getting a branch. Don't forget.
Oh, it's.
Incidentally, this is
Yeah.
probably out of scope, but one thing I'd really love to do is have a thing which you just say I want to hack on this package, and it gets the branch from Launchpad, and then it uses apps database to get all the build to install all the build dependencies and have it as one command.
That's not hard to do.
It's not hard to do, but no one's done it.
So you can see here.
Can
so-
someone add that? Can you add that to the
Sure.
Gabi document as well?
So here we've got a bug fix LP and then the ID name, and this is actually a branch, and you can go in and modify your stuff. You can see how it's got a unique, you're fixing this bug link thing. What I would do is I'd make some modifications, maybe in some other editor or some other things. And then,
You have to.
no,
That's
you don't, that's a bug. And then you just press upload fix, and that one button goes and does your committing, your uploading, and your merge request. It
Does it
asks
ask
you
you
what-
for?
Yeah, it asks you.
Yeah, it's a commit
form
message and
stuff in.
everything.
Just to come back on the project directory, if we want to show the, my quickly Nautilus one, so when we are outside the quickly project, how can we merge that so that?
Right. Can you, like here, I think we want like create a project. That
Yeah,
create a
that's-
project UI here.
That's a blueprint already. John always trying to push me for that for loop.
Yeah.
Because
So
that's
he's,
what I've done
he's
in
already
my-
written some code. So how would we make? So we just went through the fix a bug thing, but like create a project.
Exactly. One of the reasons why Create a Project was low priority for the ground control project was because of quickly.
Yeah.
Precisely because we knew that there was going to be overlap and we needed to discuss it.
So how can we fit it up there? Like what do you think we should do here, Martin? Should there be like create a project button or something?
There's two things we have scope for. One is the Create a Project here, as a specific button, and the other one is that when you're in a project directory like this, and you've got a fresh folder that you've created, that there would be a bar here for Create Branch, so you can create a new branch. That's something specific for.
You should bring those use cases to the session on Nautilus, because maybe those could be accounted for in any changes to Nautilus.
It's possible.
Did someone, so creating a branch, and I didn't really think of that. So hold on. So
because sometimes people have asked us that we don't have a way to create a secondary branch, for instance, for websites or for Debian files and for other things that are not.
so wouldn't you just like click on it and then say
Yeah, you
make a
click on it.
branch?
Well, you could, I suppose, right-click on it, but we don't have any of the plugins that do that yet. GTK Bazaar, for instance.
Okay, so hold on. So we need to do we need to add create a project under project directory, right?
Yeah.
Under project directory. Probably just call it new project, I assume.
Yeah.
So this will be on the ground control and remove this code from quickly.
I don't know. Can't we just why?
Because it's already existing quickly now.
Yeah, we could just wire it.
But why
together.
wouldn't we just use your code just to add it?
Yeah.
Can we just merge the buttons into the same?
Yeah.
There's absolutely no reason why we can't. I can't just detect that quickly is installed and then that button becomes available.
And then you slurp in his code?
And I just run his code.
Okay. And so when you are in your quickly directory, you just let quickly show the buttons.
So, and do you have, somebody's asking in the Gabi document, like how do you name it and stuff? So do you have,
I have an API for that.
so like you have a UI that comes up when you create a project?
Yeah,
and stuff?
I push the two. There is a two. Can you go to the Gabi document just so that to show my?
I think I can. I don't have it installed either.
Oh, okay. So let me just show that.
I've been a bad UDS participant.
Is it after? Is it after Nautilus 2? I only see 2 links from
Yes,
you.
there is. It's just the 2 links from Nautilus. And so the first one is when you are outside the project. So that's the view I was talking about. So let me show that. Incoming.
While he's doing that, while he's getting that, oh, maybe.
So here is basically just the prototype of the view. So it detected that there are 2 commands that can be exported, like create and tutorial. And those commands come from templates, and so the drop-down box are just every template that are available for with the create command and with the tutorial commands. And so when you are...
Would it maybe be better to have like new project, tutorial, and then when you click it, it gives you a list of templates and a dialog that you select from?
It's not difficult to change for that. And so when you are in a project, so for instance, here I am in a Ubuntu application project. So the Ubuntu application template says that from the command I have, export, edit, design, save, package. So we don't export everyone.
Can I have the screen?
Yeah.
So what happens in ground control, hopefully this will come back. Yeah, so
Do you have any screenshots of when you're in a project, like with the edit?
Right.
That was number 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
because we want to merge that with the ground control UI too. Right. So we need to show.
So
both.
we want all.
So we have
all
here.
the quickly bar. I have to remove my code for.
So you can see I have Debian files, ground control, and translations in a website, right? On the ground control, I actually have these 2 buttons for test this branch maker release, which is very similar to what Quickly does.
But if you go to a subdirectory, you still have those buttons.
Right, that's a different thing.
What does test do?
But then when I go to the website stuff, I have publish website and publish locally. And those are because I expect to have completely different.
How did you?
Yeah.
Where do those buttons come from?
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah, but
Right.
you ship that in every folder and every subfolder.
Any well, that's no.
So you've got these dot files everywhere that are.
I mean, that's his.
This is because
Right.
this is how it's been done, not necessarily because that's committed to the branch. Don't forget. So anybody who checks it out gets those buttons. Yeah.
So that's the way you kind of wrote a template for websites.
No, I just wrote that for my website.
For your website.
That's specific. That
I
actually
see.
posts it to my website. I
Okay,
don't-
so that's
I don't
not really
know.
relevant to
Well-
Quickly. It's not irrelevant, but it's not.
Right. It's what
orthogonal.
what I'm saying is that there is a very very open thing that I've done, and then there's a very very controlled thing that Quickly does, and we somehow need to.
Well, couldn't your thing that parses that file just see that there's a Quickly
Yeah.
Dot quickly
file, and then just slurp what it needs from Quickly, and then make the right buttons?
Yeah.
Like,
That's essentially what I'm saying. Is that we can do that.
But you have to ask the Quickly API if you are in a project, because even if you are in a subdirectory, Quickly detects
Quickly
that.
can
And,
work.
yeah.
right.
And it just, in fact, go to the.
So that's
upper
something to
level
figure
if you
out.
have a
There's-
dot quickly file.
That sounds figure-outable.
Yeah. There's a bug there's an outstanding bug or feature request in ground control that when you're in a branch, that every single directory should have the bar at the top, and it doesn't. It's only the top
Because
level that
it
has-
doesn't grovel. Well, you could just copy. Well, I don't
Because it doesn't see the .bazaar directory.
know. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Bazaar's got an API for that, like it's a one-line pipe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's solvable.
That's what
It's
they've
an,
done
it's
for
an
Quickly.
outstanding bug. That's it.
Well, so he could just snipe your code to add it more generally. But then it seems like almost like he's going to want to say, like, if you're in a Quickly directory, like, fill all this stuff in, and then maybe there might be a couple extra buttons that Quickly doesn't have that we want to add.
So yeah, this is the kind of desktop IDE stuff that Nautilus can integrate with, and you can see how it's not an editor and it's not any of the other
Right.
stuff.
So that's actually was my next question. So, like, this is nice, but I want to edit my files, right?
Well, so
what
go back to
happens-
Nautilus. To go back to his screenshot. Maybe we can find it. See. So then you click the edit button.
Okay.
and it opens all the editable files in that project all for you all at once. It's like this is already a quickly command. Here, I'll show you. I'll just show you real quick. I'll go to a quickly project. Oh, I'm in a quickly project. Quickly edit.
Once you've
Gedit's my
made
editor.
a branch with
So-
ground control, you can interact with the files using whatever tool you already have.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
So if you have an SVG, you can edit it in Inkscape.
Right. Like the edit command can look at what it is and open the right thing. Like, so we have, like, quickly design opens it in Glade, right? It's like a Unix. So like in Unix, like you don't say like there's one thing that you're locked into. There's a workflow and you use pipes, but you can pick your own tool to go into each pipe. And I think when we talk about the desktop as the IDE, that's what we're striving for. So like I like gedit, but a lot of people like Emacs, and like, so set your editor as Emacs and whatever, they're writing the same files. It's
I'm
really,
actually really strange because I use VI and I edit on the command line, but then I use ground control to commit, and it's like the weird duality.
but that's a good example though of just like you just use the tool that you want for like that slot, and like we're just like linking them together to like all these things that you're doing in Nautilus, you can actually just do on the command line if that's what you prefer, and use your own tools. So
See, one of the reasons for ground control is to actually codify the workflow that we use. It's the typical standard. Everybody in Ubuntu is encouraged to use this kind of workflow for doing merge requests and for using Bazaar and so on.
So, question: how modular is the stuff in ground control? In other words, if you wanted to not use the Nautilus front end, but like write an Emacs mode for doing these things, can you reuse a lot of that code?
Yeah, it's Python, it's all modular. It's just a matter of plugging in the right, stuff.
As opposed to just rewriting.
Well, I mean, did you write your own library? I think is what he's what he's asking, and can he use your library to like get to it from, like, for instance, an IDE?
So I wrote it with the idea that it was modular, but of course you can never be sure because it's only been written for one target. So it's likely that when we try and retarget it, there will be problems that crop up.
That was the same way we approached Quick. So when we did Quickly, we were always cognizant of the fact that people would want to embed it in IDEs, but no one's done it yet. But so we don't know whether it's really going to work yet. But we'll.
In fact, all of that is using just the API. So I'm pretty confident that the API is good for integrating in other stuff.
Like if you wanted to write a Eclipse plugin for Quickly, you would just use the Quickly API and whatever, I don't know what their plugin architecture is. And then it sounds like ground control is designed in the same way. So like putting those together, you could use Eclipse as your IDE if you wanted, but that's not, we're not going to.
Yeah, there's actually no reason why you can't have, do you remember how the GC functions? There's no reason why one of those couldn't be open Eclipse, and it opens Eclipse with all of that project, because Eclipse has a directory and an Eclipse directory and all that other good stuff. Absolutely no reason why not.
So, what's next?
Should we start identifying some work items and knock them out? Okay.
Maybe.
Launchpad came out relatively unscathed in this discussion.
Yeah, that's why I want us to get to wrap up the work items. Actually, so there's a bug I pointed to on the IRC channel, which is kind of, as far as I'm aware, like the only real interesting thing.
What is that bug?
It's a long and complicated bug that Martin Owens is very familiar with. It's about getting the OAuth thing nailed from the desktop without screen scraping.
Don't we have a session on that tomorrow?
Yeah, we have Launchpad integration with, but there is also some outstanding problems with doing SSH keys. There's no SSH key.
Yeah. So we do have a session on that tomorrow. Is it? Okay,
or maybe it's not scheduled yet. Is one of the blueprints that I accepted from you for this issue, or am I mistaken?
See,
it's
sorry?
It's one from yours.
No.
It's one
No.
session, no?
You have a session scheduled for it?
Yeah, for the desktop integration in Nautilus.
Do I?
Yeah, I guess.
I asked for it.
Fix the SSH key issue?
Well, what happens is I use the direct HTTP request. It's not screen scrape, however much he says it is. It's actually just using the add key. HTTP.
Right, but I mean, there's no, yeah.
But that's the only way to do it because there's no API in Launchpad.
Now you can have a read-only mode because that's what I work on. Launchpad, but
You wrote that
yeah,
for
but
Launchpad?
yeah, but you can't upload the key, and it's the same for GPG. You know, the night of nightmares, I had to patch the
Yeah.
pad. Huh?
You can't upload it because it's not technically feasible, or you just haven't
It's
written that
technically
yet?
feasible, but Launchpad guys have some concerns apparently about that. So
Yeah,
I see.
we have some. Yeah.
They're doing it wrong. He's doing it wrong. Okay.
No,
so-
not so much that. It's just that we have some concerns about allowing people to add, to upload their GPG, register their GPG key with Launchpad through an application that can basically,
Own your system?
but
well,
you can do
look,
it
well,
with-
you know, like an untrusted application,
Hmm.
which is what it would have be the case with an API. Whereas at the moment we've got the HTTPS web thing, so it's a little bit feel good.
Okay.
Just
So,
want to-
like, just so everyone, like, quickly, it seems like people really like it, and they are really productive with it, and then when they get to, like, actually put their code in a PPA, it's pretty easy, except the key exchange kicks their ass, because there's always freaking something wrong with it. And it's, you know, like, it's really hard to match up, and
Okay, so
it's
the one,
way better with ODot4 now.
the one thing I would say in response to Launchpad's fear about unauthorized applications dealing with the API, the problem is that if you have a tool installed on the user's machine, it's game over anyway for your private key part. So we should work probably more on making sure that the applications are
It's not.
trusted.
Unless it's unlocked in an insecure memory, because it's stored password.
Yeah, but it's very easy to get the user to type the key.
Right. I mean,
phrase.
so that's a
We should discuss that tomorrow.
I thought, yeah, but I don't see the session for that. So
Yeah. Just
okay,
one-
so wait, did you intend to discuss that in you had a Launchpad lib set and ground control session?
Yeah, I
Did
do.
you intend to discuss this issue in
No.
that? So you have other things to discuss in that session?
I do, but we can discuss the auth stuff because that's very much related. So I can see.
Can
how
we
can
just
discuss
see
it.
if we don't get through it, we can just schedule more
Yeah.
time later? And in fact, I don't know if necessarily at UDS we have to solve that problem. We do? Yeah. Okay.
So
fair enough.
the engineer on Launchpad who's working on this isn't at UDS, so I guess not. But at the same time, like it's just been this thing that's
Ongoing
gonna hang around
thing.
forever. So I want to deal with it and get it over
Okay,
with.
can somebody log a blueprint for this, and let's schedule it for Friday, we can always remove it if we have it solved by then.
I think I have, so
Can you nominate it for,
yeah.
okay,
Just one can be interesting on the workflow is that when you create your Quickly project, for instance, you don't have all the package, share, release stuff. You know, you only have what you want to use now and make some kind of your workflow. You want to edit the code, you want to look at the tutorial, maybe
wait.
now design, and you know, I don't know how we can plug that in the UI, but some kind with arrows now, step 1, step 2, just to guide the developer.
If at any time we need to do serious design discussion, we can probably go to Ivanka and the design team and ask them for advice and help on it.
Yeah, probably. But I think that guided way of doing things is better, just to propose everything and go in your way, you know.
Yeah. It'll see the
okay, it's a good question. Okay, I got that as a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so, we have 3 minutes, which I think is the perfect amount of time to like put together, plan a record, and some work items, okay? So it's gonna be, a project directory called project, because that's what Dobie said.
Project without an S or projects?
Oh, projects, projects?
That's what I currently have, projects.
Okay. Dobie, that's your decision, it's called projects?
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be localizable.
What's that?
It should be localizable.
Localizable.
And of
Okay.
course, localizable.
There's an outstanding bug on freedesktop.org, by the way.
Okay, wait, so that means, who's gonna make it localizable?
It would be a ground control thing.
Okay, so,
Because what happens is we generate we'll attempt to generate the projects directory.
okay,
If it doesn't log in.
we are going to add, if you have quickly installed, well, first of all, like, are we gonna install ground control and quickly at the same time? Like, is it like, you just say like, I wanna be a developer, and we install both these things?
Ground control has been built so that to get learning materials written for course writing.
And like a ton of other stuff too, and also you might be a C developer who wants to fix one particular bug and you don't care. So maybe
How many
quickly should
dependencies?
install ground control, but ground control should
But
install quickly.
quickly is packaged in user distribution and not ground control.
Quickly is packaged for Lucid.
Yeah, but for also for Fedora and Monjiva is
Right.
shipping. So it,
Really?
Yeah.
All right. So,
So just do a loose dependency that, you know, if
we
ground
command,
control-
so
ground
I'm just going
control
to say,
quickly-
figure out how to install ground control when you install quickly. How about that?
okay,
How to install.
maybe a
When
little
you
package
install
support for
quickly.
the developer.
Okay. So then under projects, it'll have, by default, if you have quickly installed, it'll have quickly and ground control buttons to start.
Yeah, it'll have a create project, it'll have a
Okay.
fetch project.
Just do from quickly import API and try and mix a catch.
Okay.
And so then you
Is that all we
use-
have to do?
Mm.
Is there else?
There's also inside of a
Quickly
branch, we want a.
Oh, make a branch. We want to make a branch
The
function.
same thing here? Make a branch is.
We want to make a
ground
branch
control
button?
thing.
Okay.
That's purely ground.
Okay.
So
And
you're,
what-
so a quickly project and a branch are synonymous?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have
Because
a
you see
.quickly
how-
file that adds some additional information.
So
but-
you see how I have, sorry,
Yeah,
can't show.
yeah.
The projects directory, then the project name, like ground control, and then the branch name. It's,
We lost you, dude.
yeah. So there's three levels because you need to be able to have multiple
Oh.
branches in the same.
Okay, yeah. So
You guys,
it's just one branch.
we're just finishing up. I think is it break time right now?
Yeah.
Just
Okay. So we won't be offended if you guys go while we just write our last minutes. Thanks, everybody. And don't